Good evening. I call this meeting to order at 5 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call. Let the record reflect that Director Hayes is absent. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda tonight.
I will move the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The agenda is approved. Moving on to public comment. Anyone in person that would like to make a public comment?
Hello, my name is Peter Barnes. This is a public comment. I know that this isn't strictly relevant to the board or the CSD at all, but it is relevant to our community. I am disheartened by the state of the bridge over Sheep Creek down on Phelan Road. I followed the construction process not that long ago when we had a storm that knocked out the bridge, and I remember that the arguments that the county gave, and I don't know if the county is on, or I'll ask this again if they are making a comment, but I know the arguments that they gave at the time were that they needed engineering to be thorough so that this didn't happen again. So then the absolutely next big storm that comes through knocks it out again. And meanwhile, we've got 138 where there's clearly plenty of room under the bridge for the water to flow, and there's no concerns ever about the bridge going out. So I'm just very concerned that it's not done yet, that it's taking a long time to get fixed. This is a real bottleneck for our community. And also that it's not going to be fixed properly again. So then what assurances do we have that the next storm that comes along isn't going to take it out? Is this just going to, like, do we give up on Phelan Road entirely because the county is not going to put forward the effort to actually do the repairs and do it properly and make sure that when there's a lot of water, it can move under that bridge instead of knocking it out? So again, I know that this is not the concern of anyone on the board, but I also know that the board and people at CSD are in more constant communication with the county than I am. And I'm definitely willing to go speak with the county about this, but I also just wanted to implore the board to have it on its radar to be pushing for the completion. I mean, it's just getting to be a bit of an issue at this point. Every big storm that comes along is going to take out the bridge. I'm just very concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and we have no members of the public online at this time, so we will move on to community reports, and we have Sheriff.
Good evening. Sergeant Joe Nicochet with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. For the community of Phelan for the month of March, deputies responded to a total of 812 calls for service. 675 of those calls were presented by people calling in, and 137 calls were self-generated by the deputies, with a total of 57 reports taken for the community of Phelan. Number one call for service was information calls, which those mostly are for fire that we get. Second highest call would have been wireless 911s, and then follow-up investigations, vehicle checks, and welfare checks. The deputies did 63 traffic stops in the month of April in the Phelan area. For Piñon Hills, for the same month of March, 355 calls for service, 323 calls were generated by dispatch and 32 by the deputies, for a total of 36 reports taken for the month of March. Again, the number one call for service is going to be the information calls for pretty much our fire calls. With second is be the wireless 911s, vehicle checks, and then welfare checks. And deputies did 8 traffic stops during that period of time also in the community of Piñon Hills. Any questions on?
Question?
All right. Perfect. No
Thank you
problem.
very much. Appreciate you being here. All right, so we have no other community representatives, so we will move on to item 3, consent items. Does anyone have anything they would like to pull?
I'd like to pull 3B.
Okay. All in favor of the motion to approve the items with removing B? Sorry, I will motion to approve the items removing B.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. All right, moving on to 4, matters removed, 3B. Questions?
I do have a question. So we reviewed this at the end of last year, what our plan was, going forward. And I see we're getting close on some director expenses. And I just kind of wanted to review that again. First of all, I don't see any expenses there for me, so I'm assuming legislative days are not on here yet? Or maybe a portion of them are not on here yet? All of them are not on here yet.
Whatever has been prepared is what David provides to me, and so if he hasn't prepared it yet, yes.
Okay, all right. So with that, Deborah, you're definitely going to go over this year. What do we have coming up after this?
I have nothing, other than maybe ASB, CSD meetings.
So do those apply to this?
The dinner cost would, but not the mileage and all that.
The what?
I don't think the mileage would at all.
Yeah.
Mileage
the-
would be included in that, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be like a couple of hundred beyond that, but otherwise, I'm not having any conferences planned between now and June.
Okay, so bear with me, I'm still kind of new, but,
This is till the end of June.
right, I understand our fiscal year, but, so the education and training, does that include like dinners and that too?
No, the dinners would be on the meals and travel.
I see it down there, thank you. So that does get included in the total of the 7,500 then?
That is correct.
Okay. So just to be aware that we are coming upon that dollar amount, you're going to be out. So no meals or travel at that point.
Well, we only have 2 more months beyond this month.
That is true. Because we're into June, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd have 2 more ASB meetings, and that's
And
it.
then when was that CSDA meeting? We
Eight-
talked
That
about
was in
August.
August.
August. Okay.
Those costs will be incurred this fiscal year, though. Just keep that in mind. So it does count against this fiscal year.
Because they order them now. I clicked the box for
Oh,
over.
you
over.
requested?
I requested an overage for it.
Oh, so
Because
the,
it'll go onto this budget because they pay for it now, even though the event's not until next year. Next fiscal year.
Okay, so will that be included in the next board packet?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So
Okay.
should we think ahead for the 2 dinner meetings and mileage?
Yeah, if those are going to be
I'll
included.
click for overage on those as well.
Right, but they have to be approved beforehand?
That's correct. So if there's going to be any more requests for training or anything like that, probably put them in now so we could do it all at once on the
Yeah,
next
I'll
meeting.
put them in next week.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Got it. Okay.
and then if I remember right, at the last meeting, we talked about we're in budget, probably because as a whole, we're not all spending the same.
That is correct.
Okay. That's the questions I had.
Okay.
I think we're about right at $1,400 under, or $14,000 under budget. If you look at the
Got it.
middle of the page, the 36,000 and the 21,000.
All right, so with that, does someone want a motion to approve 3B? Or do we need to approve it separate?
Yes, we
Yes, we
need to
do.
approve it separately.
I'll make a motion to through 3B on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item 5, presentations and appointments. Mr. Burtz.
Yes, thank you. We have Capo here from Mojave Water Agency and along with Kathy Hoffman. is in our audience tonight, and he wants to talk to us about the ephemeral washes and Sheep Creek update.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. So my name is Kapo Kilibai, as he said. I'm a hydrogeologist with the Mojave Water Agency. The MWA initiated this study for the whole of the MW service area. But because it's going to be so big as a presentation, once we present it there, the details of your area will be kind of buried in a bigger one. So I decided to come and give you kind of a targeted presentation on Sheep Creek, which is more kind of connected to what you do here. Yeah, next, please. Yeah, so I'm going to start with an outline. So I'll give a general background of why we initiated this study and what it was all about. Then I'll talk about the hydrology and some of the new monitoring that we initiated just to conduct this study. And so in that study, we also did some geophysical surveys, and then I'll present the results. So I'm first going to show the monitoring and some of the measurement that we conducted, and then I'll be showing the result in sequence. And I'll finish with the conclusions and what next after this study. And I think something that maybe I should emphasize here is it is still preliminary. We got the report not really long ago. It's a big report, so we're still reviewing it. So these results are preliminary. They might change a little bit, but for the most part, I think, yeah, we got it pretty much nailed down. Next. So I think the bulk of the recharge in what we call the Mojave River basins come from the Mojave River. And this river is well studied. There are a lot of gauges on it, so we have the numbers. We can estimate how much recharge we get after each storm. But there's also ephemeral washes within the Mojave River basin, and also within the service area, that are not well understood. We know they do contribute to recharge, but we don't know by how much. We only know mainly the Mojave River. So this specific project was for us to start kind of quantifying, understanding, studying the contribution to recharge of all the other ephemerals that are not necessarily part of the Mojave River. Yep. So here, what I'm showing here on this map, all the little blue line you see there are potential ephemeral washes within our service area. So there's quite a few of them, right? And if you can see on the lower left corner, I've kind of colored in blue Sheep Creek. So these are not completely exhaustive, but the bulk of the ephemeral washes in our area. So we selected a few, and the main idea was, one, to understand how they contribute to recharge, if they do at all, and then two, learn from this study so we can extend it, because it's new, we don't know how to approach it, so we try things here, and whatever works, then we can extend it to other washes. So we picked a few for this specific study. Next. Yeah, so here I'm showing exactly the one that we're going to be studying for the ephemeral washes. So you can see you got Pipe Wash, Cane Wash, Arrastra Canyon in 15 Mile Valley, and Sheep Creek. So this is the one we focus on. So today I'll be talking more about Sheep Creek. Yeah, next. Yeah, so first a few things about Sheep Creek, because as you know in hydrology, it's all about the watershed, meaning that it's the surface area where if a drop of water falls there, it's going to all flow toward an outlet. And this one, Sheep Creek being the outlet here. So this watershed is about 15.2 square miles, and it's got a mean precipitation about 24 inches a year, which is a lot, and they don't tend to come in the bits and pieces, they usually come all at once, so hence what happened here a few months ago. So as I said, again, the flow regime is pretty flashy, so it's called comes at once, and then you don't get anything for a while. And also we did see a little bit of a spring flow from the snow melt, so we were able kind of to quantify some of it. Yeah, next. Yeah, so this is the current state of things, right? So before we started that study, this is the things that we knew about Sheep Creek. So probably it's maybe too small there, but on the right, it's just a cross section. So basically, as Sheep Creek flows into our area here, it kind of narrows down. So you got the granite, what we call the bedrock, which doesn't have any water. And then you had a little sliver of alluvium where the water actually flows. So this was the study that we had. It was conducted by the University of Fullerton, CSUF looked on the researcher who did it, but this is dated 2006, I believe, and it's kind of a little simplistic because in reality it's probably more complex than that. But you have to understand when recharge happens, it can happen on the surface, meaning water flowing on the surface and then infiltrating eventually, but we are also connected to the aquifer in the watershed of Sheep Creek where water can also seep underneath and we won't see it on the surface. So the idea here was to quantify the water on the surface and also on the subsurface. And for that, you need to characterize and understand the subsurface and also measure what's going on the surface. Yeah, next. So these are the new monitoring that we did. So you can see here from here, yes. So we installed different monitoring stations on the Sheep Creek. So there was a few stream gauges that to measure how much flow we have in there. And then we planned 2 monitoring wells in Sheep Creek bed so that at least we can measure the water levels of what's going on underneath. But unfortunately, with the government shutdown and what went on with the federal government, the U.S. Forestry Services, which owned the land where we wanted to put these 2 monitoring wells, I think we submitted a permit, and it's been about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, we have not gotten the permit yet. So unfortunately, we had to move on and then write the report because circumstances forced us to do that. So we also installed 1 rain gauge so we can quantify how much rain actually falls within our basin here, even though there's another rain gauge up the watershed. Yeah, next. Yes. Okay, here I'm showing a few of the instruments that we installed. So in yellow, the yellow circle, yellow oval there is the rain gauge. The red one, it's a camera. And the camera and a radar. The main reason is when you're measuring flow in a river, ideally you want the river to have a pretty defined geometry because so you know at least how deep it is, how wide is it. So if you have the elevation of the water flowing and then the velocity, you can estimate how much flows. But the thing for Sheep Creek is things change really quickly. So you can have a geometry today, there's a storm tomorrow, and then it fills up, and then the county comes, so it changes a lot. So relying on the traditional method where you can see that you got the staff gauge where you measure the water elevation and the geometry was not enough. So the little red circle was for a radar and sensor that actually, and then we have a camera, so at least we can follow how things are changing. So if the bed keeps changing and is shifting, we can go back and look at it and adjust some of our calculation and estimation of velocity and of the shape of the bed, the river bed. And the one you see on the right, it's not on that side, it's on the other side. You know, if you were standing on the other side looking, that one would be on the left. So because at least the bridge is pretty stable and solid, we put a lot more sensor there. So as you can see, it's got a surface velocity radar, radar level sensor, it's got a staff plate, a rain gauge, a camera, and a stage bubbler just to measure the stage of a river. Because here at least we had some confidence. The rest of the river is too dynamic. We still put some sensors, but it changes a lot. So next, please. Yeah, so now the first one was on the bridge on Phelan Road, and then these ones are all upstream of it. So we got SCO2, both of them are pressure transducers that you put in the ground, and you put in some of these PVC pipes there so you can measure the elevation of the water, and then based on the geometry, you can estimate some flow. Yeah, next. Yeah, so this one is the third. So we got 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. Yeah, and again, as I was saying, for the monitoring well 1 and 2, which would have helped us estimate how much water is coming underneath, I mean, so in the subsurface, unfortunately, got delayed. We're still waiting, still got good hope. We have budget for even next year. This one was funded by a grant, a matching grant, so MW paid part of it, and Water Smart grant paid the part of it. It's still available to us up till September of this year, so we hope that eventually they'll give us the permit so we can go out there and drill the well, and we'll get a lot more accurate data. Next. Yeah, so the other thing is the geophysical study. So everything I was showing, all these instruments was to measure flow on the surface. The only thing we were measuring in the subsurface is the 2 monitoring wells that unfortunately we haven't been able to install yet. But it's one thing for the water to flow on the surface, but how do we really know that the water that infiltrates actually makes it to the groundwater? Because you can have a really impermeable layer underneath your river, and then the water will sit there or eventually will evaporate. So geophysics is a way to kind of characterize the subsurface so you know what are the layers underneath? Does the water actually move, and does it actually reach the water table? So we decided to run a few geophysical studies. So the line you see here, we do measurement along these lines, and they gave us a cross section. It's like a slice of a subsurface, and based on their physical properties, we can kind of infer some properties and then some understanding of what we are looking at. So the result of this will tell us, the water that is actually infiltrating a Sheep Creek can eventually make it to the subsurface or not. And if it does, is there anything impeding it, and how much it's impeding? So this was the idea behind running a geophysical study. Yeah, next. Yeah, so I'm going to start now with the result. So what you see here are some of the measurement. I can't see the date from here. But so these are, I believe, if we can, the first one on the left here was somewhere in February, right?
February 18th.
Yeah, February 18th. And then as you go there, it's got to be probably, these are the last storms that we got in December and January. Yes. So these are the one. Now, the reason this that flat is because it's really flashy. I mean, most of the water happens in 12 hours. So when you show all this time underneath, it looks like it's a flat thing, but truly it peaks and then it goes down. But at that scale, you see that. So for the next few slides to come, I'm going to zoom on individual ones so that we can see better, what it looks like. It's not just a flat thing. And the red dot are actual manual measurement. And the main reason is what I described, because the bed is changing so quickly that you cannot just rely on automated techniques, otherwise it won't be accurate. So while the storm is happening, we send people out there and they go actually manually measure the flow, and then we can use it to calibrate the automatic measurement. So it's a way to double check your result and to make sure that they're relatively accurate. Yeah, next please. So this is one of the first ones. As you can see, it peaked. I can't read. Can you help me with the number there? The top one. On the left. Yeah, lower, just the top of the curve. Yeah, that will be 100. Okay, so this one peaked at about 100 CFS. That was about the amount. And the next one? Yeah, no, I mean the next figure. Sorry, next slide. Sorry. Yeah, so this one, what is it? What's the number on top there? About 100? Yeah, and then next. So that was the big one. I think it's above 1,000. So that's a lot of water. I mean, 1,000 CFS, that's a lot of water. And you can tell that, it didn't completely drop immediately. It kind of stayed relatively stable as it goes. So clearly, a lot of water came through for these two storms. And we've already studied that study about 2 years ago. So that's about a year and a half, 2 years worth of data. Ideally, we want a longer period so that we had some idea what the averages are. Because there'll be more rainy years. I mean, wetter years will be drier years, so you need at least 4, 5, 6, 7 years. 10 years will be ideal. And then it gives us some ideas about what's the kind of general average values are. Yeah, next. Yeah, same thing again. This is for some of the other gauges that we installed. And if you look, the one on completely left there, this was actually, there was no storm going on. It was just spring snow melt flow that you can see here. Next. Yeah, same thing again here. But if you look on the right, that blue line is incomplete. It's because all these other stations got wiped out. That was it. So after the first few small storm, we were getting data, and then when the big one came through, everything was gone. So the only thing that sustained the storm, weathered it, and we were able to get data, is everything we had on the Phelan Bridge there. Yep. Next. Yeah, so the second study and result I'm showing here are the geophysics. So this one was so that we can get a picture of what's in the subsurface. So just a quick thing here. So everything that is kind of blue, bluish, greenish is either water or something that's, that's a lot of moisture. And then everything that's red is relatively dry. So if you look at on the top, for instance, right on the top there, you see all these little sliver, because this is a cross section. This is the yellow line that I circled there. So this is perpendicular to Sheep Creek. So what it's showing is that as the water gets into Sheep Creek, it kind of goes sideways. So even this one was before the storm. It means that there's still some moisture underneath Sheep Creek. So the water actually seeps through, and then it sits there. So next. Yeah. So this is again the second line, which is this one is right along the river. As you can see, right on the surface, you see a little bit yellowish, greenish going on. So that's for the same thing again. Right on the top there, above the water table, some water is infiltrated in the river and stays on top. Yeah, next. And this one is right next to, as you can see this big blue thing. Again, it's water, it's the aquifer, but even though you can see from here, this little blob, the blue, align with Sheep Creek water wells. So basically, whatever we're pumping is kind of pulling some water from either the top of the surface or in the environment. So this is the effect that you can see there. But you still get, again, that top layer where water gets through. Yeah, next. Yeah, so the other thing we did is that, when you run a geophysics study, it's a snapshot in time. So you look at it and say, okay, this is what it is right now. So what we try to do is, the first one was May 1st, right? So which is at the end of spring, getting into summer, so it's not as wet. And then we took another measurement right after the storm to see what has changed. So if you see the purple started to shrink, so that means clearly that storm had an impact on the water levels. It went up a little bit, and even that little sliver that is right underneath got bigger, and you can tell that there are some ways, some pathways for the water to get down. So in a way, the water that actually flows through the creek, part of it actually makes it to the groundwater. So that was a confirmation that it just doesn't dry and evaporate in the desert, but actually some of it makes it to the groundwater. So we're going to have to come up with ways to estimate that, which is the next step, but at least this was a confirmation for that. Yeah, next. Yeah, same thing again. Here it's more apparent. So you can see the green on the left, it was May 1st. On the right, it was January 15. So you can see that little green on top got way wider because when it started to rain and the water was flowing, a lot of the water infiltrated and is there. And you can tell even you can see some of the gap between the purple pathways that the water can use to get down. Yeah, next. Anyway, so that was kind of a general overview without getting too much into the weeds of what we were trying to do and what we got. So this was about 2 years worth of monitoring, as I said. So we're gonna keep monitoring, that's the idea. So we get more and more data, and we are reviewing the report right now. We'll make the report public and available for other people to look at it. And we'll probably, once we get these 2 monitoring wells, we'll be able to estimate how much water is actually flowing on the subsurface from Sheep Creek into OST here. But for now, while we're waiting, this at least confirmed to us that not only there is water coming from the subsurface, but also the water on the surface contribute to actually recharging the groundwater, which obviously has never been estimated with any type of precision so far. The USGS only gave kind of one flat number per year, but an actual estimate was not conducted back in the days. But the other thing, again, we need to worry about is, as I said, that this study was a proof of concept. We're trying to say what works, what doesn't work. Clearly, away from the bridge, we cannot make any measurements. The instrument will get wiped out instantly. So we're going to focus on some of the techniques that I described, the radar, and then mounting them on things that don't move, so that at least we can keep them for a long time and then keep measuring. And obviously, to continue, we need some funding. Right now we got a grant. We'll see if we can go for another one, but we'll need funding because that's going to be on top of the Mojave Water Agency's monitoring group that is actually working right now. So we'll need either extra staff, because for some of these instruments, we need people on the ground to measure the flow while it's raining so you can use it to calibrate your instrument. And I don't think we have a capability in-house, so we'll have to hire somebody to do it. Even if it's once or twice a year, we'll have to come up with an estimate for that cost. So thank you for your attention, and that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Does
any
anybody have any questions for him? No?
You're welcome. Oh, yeah.
Peter?
Mhm.
I was curious about this one, because you said that the blob is related to the Sheep Creek wells.
Uh-huh.
And there's also, the tunnel where the aquifer is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if there was any determination how much that's natural versus how much that's man-made forced, right? Because this is where there's already something breaking through
Yeah.
that Sheep Creek is tapped
Yeah, but this is way north of the tunnel. The tunnel is behind. It's again south of it.
North of the tunnel?
Yeah, this is north of the tunnel. So that's, the tunnel is kind of south of it. So we won't see the impact of the tunnel here. We'll have to extend the line to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now yes, anytime you pump anywhere, anytime you pump, you're gonna get an impact because if you're gonna pull the water, it's gonna tap the flow. So you're gonna see things like this around pumping wells. It's perfectly normal.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay. Yeah.
All right, moving on to item 6A, discussion and possible action for the purchase of a 400 amp SCE service panel and manual transfer switch for well 16.
Yeah, thank you. Chris is going to take these next couple of items.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bartz. On May 28th, 2025, the board approved a contract with Best Drilling and Pump to drill well 16, located at 4093 Olivera Road. Best Drilling commenced work on September 29th, 2025. The well was drilled to a depth of 1,040 feet, with test pumping results indicating the well can produce up to 900 gallons per minute. The well 16 will require the installation of a 200 horsepower vertical turbine pump, which will be designed to produce between 600 and 750 gallons per minute continuously. Due to long lead times, between 36 and 38 weeks, and the looming chromium mitigation timelines, quotes were received for the purchase of a 400 amp SCE service panel and manual transfer switch. Quotes were received from Royal Industrial Solutions, CED Victorville, and Walters Wholesale Electric. The budgeted amount for the well 16 project is $1.8 million. Staff is recommending the board approve the quote from CED Victorville in the amount of $81,270.44 for the purchase of the required 400 amp SCE service panel and manual transfer switch for well 16.
Okay, any questions?
At this particular well, is there a stationary generator, or is it, you gotta tow something out there and hook it up when the power's out?
All of our sites we have to tow a generator.
Okay.
We have 4 generators we can tow.
Yeah, that explains the manual switch, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, anything?
Are we still under that 1.8 million? I think we are at this point.
Right now, we are under the 1.8. I know we did extend the drillers'
Right.
budgeted amount from some change orders in January,
Okay,
but we're trying to stay within that 1.8.
thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't have any questions on that one, so I will motion to approve the quote for the purchase of the 400 amp.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. All right, moving on to 6B, discussion and possible action for the purchase of a 200 horsepower production pump, motor, column, tube, and shaft for well 16. Mr. Cummings?
Thank you. Well 16 will require the installation of a 200 horsepower vertical turbine pump and motor with a pump setting of 790 feet below the ground surface, which will be designed to produce between 600 and 750 gallons per minute. Well 16 will be designed similar to well 15 and will be equipped with a variable frequency drive, allowing operations staff to modulate flow based on demand in the distribution system. The quote received from General Pump, whom the district has an existing pump and maintenance contract, includes the necessary 200 horsepower vertical turbine pump motor, which is capable of modulating, utilizing the variable frequency drive. The budgeted amount for the well 16 project is $1.8 million. The fiscal impact for the 200 horsepower production pump and equipment is $324,648.73. So So staff is recommending the board approve the purchase and installation of well 16's production pumping equipment to include the 200 horsepower vertical turbine pump and motor. Any questions?
Okay.
Is this oil lube or water lube?
Oil lube.
Oil lube, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, would someone like to motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 6B for the purchase of a 200 horsepower pump and motor, column tube, and shaft for well 16.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. Moving on to 6C, discussion and possible action regarding well 18 change orders, installation of a 100-foot annular cement seal, installation of a PFD during mechanical development, additional mechanical development, and design balance. Wow, that was a mouthful, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Chris?
Thank you. While drilling well 18, it was determined that an additional 100-foot annular cement seal be installed during the installation. The installation, the 16, let's see where we at. The annular seal is installed between the well casing and the conductor casing. The additional cost of the annular cement seal added an additional $8,050 to the contract. With the addition of the 100-foot annular seal, an additional 112-foot gravel tube was required, and an additional 415 feet was added to the camera tube, along with some casing design changes. The additional gravel tube, camera tube, added an additional $7,573.50 to the contract. And as mechanical development began, airlifting of heavy drilling mud, clays takes place to begin opening the gravel pack in formation, allowing water to flow. It was determined that a PFD clay disbursement needed to be installed to assist in breaking down drilling muds and clays. Additional time was necessary for the installation and removal of the PFD. So with the PFD, the installation of the PFD added an additional $23,083.03 to the contract. And with the first pass of mechanical development, it was determined by conditions encountered in the areas between 450 feet and 1,010 feet, a greater mechanical development beyond what was in the original scope of work was necessary for the best producing and highest quality water possible. This additional mechanical development helped produce significantly, which resulted in an additional 175 hours. These additional hours were charged to the bid line of number 10. So the additional hours at $750 per hour was a total of $131,437.50. Best Drilling and Pump, which submitted the lowest responsive bid, which was in the amount of $1,023,276, and with these change orders brings their total cost to $1,193,420.
Yeah, and just to give you a little additional information, when we did well 16, which is the fill station, the additional hours that was put in to develop that well paid off in spades. It went from, we estimated maybe 450 gallons a minute, according to Mark Roberts when we started, and it could be up to about 900 gallons per minute. We're going to set it up for 750 in that range.
For a safe
But
field.
this is the same type of situation. By adding the additional development, this well will probably be the best producing out of the 3 wells that we've installed within the last few years.
So staff is recommending for the board to authorize payment of the change orders for well 18, change orders 6, 7, 8, and 9 for a total amount of $170,144.03.
Okay, any questions?
I do have one question. So There's a lot of information, I understand it, thank you. Development is important, you gotta get all that bentonite clay out of the well, and so it requires mechanical work to get that done. The additional 100 or 50 foot of additional sanitary seal, what was the cause of having to have an additional 50 foot of seal?
See, the seal that, we had the sanitary seal on the outside of the conductor.
Right.
And the annular seal was just gravel only. So
Okay.
it was determined to add the 100-foot rather than just gravel to the surface.
Okay,
Right
that's what I
now,
was
the
trying to,
bid-
yeah,
The bid was gravel to the surface, which all the other wells that we have, there's no annular seal, it's just gravel. So it was determined that
okay.
that 100-foot be
Yeah.
added.
So your conductor casing had the 50 foot?
That is
and
a
it was
50-foot seal.
determined that you wanted to put
A
in
deeper
between the
seal.
gravel pack and the well casing?
Correct.
On the blank casing, okay, got it, thank you.
Was that also because of the volume of the flow of water that, seemed like that was in a meeting in the past, that we were gonna have to do some additional to the well just because of the grand amount of flow? Is this
Yeah.
part of that?
Typically is, the flow has to do with the development, mechanical development. That doesn't have to do with the seal.
Okay.
Because the seal's at the surface.
One more quick question. So the gravel, the makeup gravel tube goes through the seal between the casing and the well casing itself, the borehole and the well casing?
Yes, in
Yeah.
between, because the
Okay.
original scope of work, I believe, was a 5-foot gravel tube.
Yeah.
So that was added to go
Right,
below
so
the
you could
annular
make it,
seal.
make up gravel, okay.
Correct.
And then do you know how much the gravel pack settled after development? How much gravel we had to put in the well?
No, I don't offhand know.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Question? I noticed that at the end of the packet, they put in here that we picked them because they had the lowest responsible bid. So with the change order, that still keeps them at that? Okay. Yes?
I would have to look at the other bids.
Okay.
But even the other contractors, we would be adding the same or similar cost to their bids.
Okay.
Because it would be similar work.
Thank you. All right. Does anyone want a motion?
I can make a motion for C, discussion to approve the change orders for well 18, as indicated in the staff report.
And I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to 6D, discussion and possible adoption of Resolution 2026-08, adopting policy 2102, protection from wildfire smoke.
Yes, thank you. Jen wants to talk to you about wildfire smoke policy tonight.
She is so excited about it.
Yeah, it is very exciting. So this is just basically a formalization of procedures that we already have in place in response to our wildfire, smoke and things like that, and safety of our employees. It supports our IIPP, and which is our injury and illness prevention plan, and it is required by the state of California to have an actual policy in place. So that is what we're bringing forward now.
Okay. Questions, comments? No? All right, well, I will motion to adopt Resolution 2026-08.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. Moving on to 6E, consideration of dissolution and reestablishment of ad hoc personnel policy committee. Mr. Bartz.
Thank you. In 2004, the district formed an ad hoc committee for dealing with the personnel manual. And ad hoc committees are typically a short duration. I would consider a year to be a typical length for the maximum. It has been a couple of years, and our personnel manual is now back on the table to be completed, and it's going to have some time to be reviewed. So the recommendation from staff is that we disband the original ad hoc committee and then start a new ad hoc committee immediately with two board members that would be chosen by the board.
Okay.
I have questions.
Go ahead, please.
I don't know. I remember that, or my understanding was that We have an outside organization. My understanding is we had an outside organization work on that manual, right? The employee manual?
That is correct. CPSHR is
Okay.
working in the manual, and they are nearing completion.
They are nearing the completion, all right. Was that also defining the different positions, since our positions changed a little bit?
The positions will be mentioned in the personnel manual, but this will not be, the personnel manual will not be the development of the positions, those are in progress right now, as all of the staff members are reviewing their job descriptions and reporting to CPSHR, which will be doing the new job descriptions, since
Okay.
ours are 25 to 30 years old.
So that was one of their assignments as well?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so this ad hoc is just to review what they compiled as the manual?
Yes, the personnel manual is thicker than your board book, is a nice way of putting it.
It's because I think they're all lawyers there, right?
Oh, just the regulations that, as we've been going through this process, and it was started a couple of years ago, just the new laws that come out every year, they have to update that. So the way the new manual is set up to where those can be kind of inserted in at the end, and as they change, they will be updated. But our personnel manual is about as old as our job descriptions, at least 20 years, and a lot has changed in that time.
So what is our timeline looking at to be able to see the personnel manual, and then plus this additional task, the organizational chart, all the job descriptions, everything?
Yeah,
When are we
I believe
thinking?
the personnel manual is, go ahead.
The personnel manual is just about ready for review, so that's why we wanted to get the committee in place. The job descriptions and things that you're describing is a completely separate study that will be available closer to the end of the year.
Okay. All right. I'm open for discussion. Thoughts?
Well, if needed, I'd be willing to stay on the ad hoc committee. 35 years in public service, water, wastewater, municipal government operations, so very familiar with personnel rules, manuals, and regulations, and I think it could provide some valued input to those after I take a look at what the consultant had to say.
Do you have an expectation of meeting times in that, to accommodate?
No, whenever the meeting, or depending on who's on the committee, we would adjust the meeting times. They're not advertised meetings, it's just the two board members with staff and the consultant. So those can be adjusted to different times.
What we've done in the past, depending on schedules, we've met remotely with the consultant, reviewed documents, they went through email exchange, with staff being part of that email exchange, and then we would provide comment, and or we'd meet in person. So over the last time I was on the committee, we met about 6 times. 3 of those times were remotely, and then the other 3 or 4 were in person.
Do we have a second volunteer?
I don't want to volunteer myself. I don't like
Do you want
putting
to
my,
participate?
I mean, I would love to participate, but I don't want to volunteer myself, because being president, I don't want to always just, exert myself into
I'd be
everything.
happy
Rebecca,
to
are
have you
you
on
willing
the
to be on
committee,
that ad hoc committee?
Yeah, I'll make a informal motion that you be on the committee. How's that?
Okay, that'll work.
I'll second that.
There's your committee.
Okay.
All right. All right, moving on to 6F, update on district projects. Mr. Cardenas?
Thank you, President. Civic Center project, you've probably seen all the wood that's out there. For the last couple of days, they've been framing the interior and exterior walls. So give it probably in the next few days, probably Friday at the earliest, they will be erecting those walls. So you'll finally get to see something vertically, then horizontal. The wall sheathing and roof joints tentatively is scheduled for the first week of May. You probably have the calendar, or not the calendar, but the schedule of where we're at. But these are really just more of the highlights of the visual of the project being constructed. The rebar was completed on the block wall along the north access. And pending county inspection, they'll begin the construction of that wall. Still waiting for is a gas line to the building. SoCal Gas, a little slow in responding on a lot of these services. Irrigation, the service line and meter will be installed by staff probably in the next week, first part of May. And the other item that's still pending is the FF&E, and that's the furniture, fixture, and equipment. August, we are anticipating the delivery of the electrical panel and transformer. The office will be out of power for a week during that transfer of service and the removal of the existing panel and transformer. 2 generators will keep the office running during the installation. We'll have a better idea when that schedule is, but right now they're looking at 3 months for the delivery of that equipment. With that, then, that'll kind of energize the building, and they'll start to begin work on the interior finishings. So that would be in August, September. They're on schedule for completion in December of 2026. There hasn't been any delays to kind of say otherwise. Any questions on the Civic Center project? And I can move on to the enhancement. As you've probably seen, there's a lot of green and landscape. They're almost complete with that project. They're putting in the drip irrigation, and then the DG would come in after that. Construction of the pickleball court's in progress, and the greenhouse and foundation plan with the calculations will be submitted to the county for approval and installation. Again, we're still waiting for the greenhouse and the fencing. I mean, those are the only items that are still pending for the project. With that, I believe that we have provided an extension due to the delay and the redesign on the sidewalk and placement of the exercise equipment. We have it for June 23rd. That's their dead-end date for completion. No later than June 23rd. They say they can get it done a little bit sooner than that, but I have nothing more to report on the enhancement project. Any questions on that? The 14-acre Phelan Park expansion, soon we're going to begin the preliminary design on something, and that something, it will follow the workshops that our park manager will be working on for public outreach for grant conditions. So we'll start to begin looking at what that's going to look like. We're going to be focused more on the south portion of that project. So at the same time, we can mitigate the Joshua trees less than us mitigating the majority of the Joshua trees, which is further on the north side, which then will kind of migrate into a design around those. But with that, I have nothing more to add to that. If I could just report on the Sheep Creek Wash Bridge. We had received notice probably about a month ago for utility requests for Phelan Road from 395 to 138. And we provided all the as-built information. And we've done this once before, probably about 4 years ago. Then the project just was stalled because of funding. They're looking at going back into design again. Part of the design, the preliminary design, was not to cross the Sheep Creek Wash at that bridge location. That bridge there would be abandoned. There would be a cul-de-sac per se, a turnaround on the east side of that bridge. The plan is from, and I can't think of the name of the street just to the east would then divert its way over across the wash and intersect Highway 138. So it's going to sweep itself to 138. There's a perpendicular connection to the highway for safety reasons. The design, well, the preliminary design that we have just shows a crossing at the wash. I'm not sure if they're planning a bridge. We don't know that yet. Just the plans that show that there is a road going across the wash, south of the current bridge location. They did begin work on the repairs. They've been working with Chris Cummings on the protection of the water line that crosses that bridge. And Chris, if you can add, I think you spoke with the contractor on Friday on where they're at with the project.
Yeah, last week they were installing riprap, and they should be slurring the riprap and the water main late this week, early next week. And then they're hauling off all the material they are excavating out of there. So I would suspect the next couple of weeks they should be finished.
They've hauled a lot of that, I don't want to say debris, but the excess flow from upstream down towards the project the lowering project that we're working on currently, just at the north end of the transfer station. And, you know, there's some working arounds with that, but they're going to eventually have to clear that out over in the borrow pit, I guess you would call it. With that, I have nothing more to add. We haven't had any meetings with their engineers. I've spoken with the utility coordinator several times over the years on this project. But once we're getting into the design and completion, they say that they can break ground in January of 2030. That's the letter stated. We've heard this before, you know, 2026, 2027 completion, but it always comes down to grant funding, and that's kind of where they're at right now. So that's all I have to report on the Sheep Creek Wash Bridge.
Awesome, thank you. All right, moving on to item 7, committee reports. Engineering.
We have not met since the last report.
Finance, we haven't met since the last report. Legislative.
We attended the legislative days in Sacramento. We met with one of our representatives. Sadly, we weren't able to meet with all three. The one was very communicative with us, but I don't know if he'd necessarily be able to give any funds out of the communication. We asked for help with our electrical panels that are outdated and need updating, and we also asked for help with the storm damage. The CSDA event asked for help with AI, that's it, AI. AI development and how government and businesses will interact with it differently, along with concerns with the high-speed rail and taxation around it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Park and Rec
We haven't met since our last meeting,
and Waste and Recycling.
and that's the same.
It's the same. All right, staff and general managers report. Anything to add?
Yeah, I'd just like Chris to update the board on the crossings. As we talked about the last meeting, and I actually sent it out during the meeting, I didn't realize that the board members were not included on the denial letter for the funding. But just to keep you updated, Chris has been working hard on getting those in at a substantially lower rate than what we had projected.
So currently we have 3 crossings complete. The field staff just completed approximately 600 feet of 8-inch ductile across the Sheep Creek Cross for Calaveras. That crossing included 2 new fire hydrants and valve setups for flushing and to isolate in the future if necessary. Smoke Tree Crossing was completed the other day with 430 feet replaced, along with 1 fire hydrant and valve setup. Del Rosa crossing is scheduled to begin tomorrow, and that should be completed early next week. And once those crossings, that puts us whole, but we still do have a couple other drop sections we need to do, but those are still in service, but we will address those as the summer goes.
Good, thank you. All right, moving on to board reports, directors' reports. Director Schneider?
I have nothing to report for this meeting.
Director Phillips?
Beyond the legislative days, I attended the ASB CSD dinner on Monday, and we went over AI concerns and how to best utilize it within our districts. The AI topic is going to continue to come up, and I'm happy that we're learning more about it and how to utilize it in its best ways without the pitfalls that we see coming with it.
Thank you. Director Mills?
I included in the packet a review of the legislative event that we attended. In addition to that, I would like to say I think the best part of that trip would be when we met with parks for grant funding through, is it national parks? State parks, sorry. Of course, we're at state legislative days. Anyway, state parks, and that was, I think that was pretty fruitful as far as giving us direction, and the grants that are coming up that kind of fit our profile are coming up pretty soon. So it's not like we're waiting till the next cycle, I guess. So I felt like that was the best part of legislative days. As far as meeting with the legislators, I think we might be better served if we do something local, not during legislative days. It feels like with them being in session, they look very exhausted, and half the time they're not there. So it's just something to think about. Maybe we can create something local that we could draw them here.
Maybe we could, at the next legislative committee meeting, we could talk about a plan, move forward.
And other than that, nothing else to report.
Thank you. And for myself, I did also attend the ASB CSD dinner on Monday night. I think it's the third time we've had a presentation on AI, so I'm good for a little while. Looking forward to the next meeting because I know it's not going to be about AI. And then also Chris Palmer did touch base on that state bill that you were talking about, opposing the diversion of the property tax for the high-speed rail. Luckily, it won't really affect us because I looked and the closest station is going to be Palmdale, so not our problem. But he did want to point out that Chino Basin Water Conservation District's General Manager Liz is on it because it will affect their district, and she's already initiated written arguments against it. So they just want us to stay on top of that. So that is it for me. Moving on to correspondence and information.
Yes, we've included some of the items that have gone into our bills, including our Earth Day art contest. The deadline's May 30th. And then we included some information about a mobile clinic that is visiting every quarter here in the district parking lot. They provide virtually free services to just about anyone. And then we also have some information in here about upcoming summer activities, classes, and movie nights.
Awesome, thank you. All right, let's see, moving on to review of action items. Were there any prior meeting action items?
Yes, we just have a note that we will be bringing forward a presentation on the hydraulic model.
Okay, and current meeting action items?
I have not noted any. I have noted none.
Okay. So next setting agenda for next meeting, May 13th. Does anyone have anything they would like to add? No?
We'll get back to you. Staff may be gone for the May 13th.
Got it, no problem. All right, with no further business before the board, we will adjourn at 6:04 PM. Thank you.